And so that's the big question, Sammy. And this is the thing that Nostradamus was tweeting out on Friday morning, like a trap game upcoming. I think that we've talked about this before. Like this Jacksonville game was always kind of considered a little bit of a trap game. When Braggs and I were doing the predictions when the NFL schedule came out, listen, I know that every week in the moment, I always pick the Bears to win, and I'm picking the Bears to win this week. Spoiler alert. But I looked at this game like that's London. Like, even though it's a Bears home game, we didn't lose a home game. By the way, with the 17-game schedule, what they're doing is like, if you get an extra home game, then you're typically one of these teams that has to go abroad and play one of the international games or do something like that. So you don't really gain an extra home game. You don't really lose an extra home game. So the Bears still have 8 home games at Soldier Field, but then their 9th home game is in Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. So when we saw the schedule come out, and even though this is classified as a Bears home game, and we'll be able to play all the Bears sounds and the flags and all that stuff, this was still going to be a tough game. I don't know if people are just trying to find reasons not to root for the Bears, to be skeptical, to be dubious of everything that's going on. And we're going to talk about this a little bit more in a second, but it's like, I think people acknowledge that going to Great Britain, playing the Jags, that is done, they've got their travel done, despite flying through a hurricane and all that stuff. They're ready to go. That's no big deal to them. They deal with this all the time. It's like, oh, it's snowing. Like, yeah, of course. In Chicago, it snows all the time. Like, who cares? I was joking. Remember, we were joking with Tyler Scott about how you don't have to go buy any winter clothes because you already own them. Like, if I go to London, I'm like, dude, what am I going to wear? Like, so, you know what I'm saying? But still, we thought this was going to be a tough game. I don't think trap game is one that you would, I wouldn't quantify it as a trap game because I think people are assuming that the Jags are going to be a formidable opponent anyways. But anyway, let's get into it. Sammy, let's just go ahead and start the show.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast with Adam Rank.
It's Hester trying to work it back to the middle. Gets past the first wave, and here he goes. It's Hester inside the 30. Hester's going to take it all the way for a touchdown. And no flag, 92 yards.
Brought to you by Circa Sports Illinois, the sickest Chicago Bears and fantasy football podcast. Sports entertainment like no other. It's gonna be sick.
Welcome to the weekend edition of the Sick Podcast with Adam Rank. So happy for you to join us here today. We've got a great show lined up for you. We're expecting, and I say this, by the way, every time you click into this, you'll know, we were talking about this with Roma Dunze the other day, is that you can't tease a guest in the podcast world. This used to be a big radio thing. But like, hey, come on, we get special guest. You'll never believe who's going to be joining us. Like years ago when Jimmy Fallon was hosting one of the MTV Music Awards and they had a special surprise appearance by Guns N' Roses. And he was like, oh my God. And it's like, yeah, like now if it's a podcast, you know whether James made it or not. I'm dubious. I'll be honest. I'll even tell him if he comes on. I'm dubious because I'm like, hey, I'm in the middle of mowing the field over here. Yeah, that's right. I mow my own field for the AYSO practice facility. So I mow my field. And by the way, some guy walked up yesterday. He's like, hey, you using this whole thing? And I'm like, yeah, I am. And he's like, looking around. I'm like, I mowed this. Like, I deserve this field. But in any event, I texted James and I said, hey, can you come on? He's like, yeah, no problem. And then he's like, wait, what's this for? Like the Sick Podcast. He's like, nah, we'll see. So we'll see if he shows up. But hopefully, if not, we're still going to do the picks. Anyways, I just hope he's here. And by the way, I want to thank everybody who joined us on Wednesday evening. We had Roma Dunze, Tyler Scott. If you missed the show, go back and watch it. One of the things that we've really started to hit a groove with in talking with Tyler, and Rome was so sweet. We're doing a box break and we're like, hey, Rome, you're in London. You don't have to hang around. But no, he was like, I'm in. Like, we did a cool box break with Mike from Windy City Sports. And I guess right now would be a good time to remind you at Windy City Sports Cards, they specialize in buying and selling all things related to Chicago sports. Whether you are a diehard fan of the Bears, Bulls, Cubs, White Sox, Blackhawks, or Sky, they have got you covered. with an extensive selection of sports memorabilia and collectibles. In addition to their Chicago-focused items, they also offer a vast collection of sports trading cards and memorabilia from your favorite teams and players. And by the way, I was in the, if you guys saw me on GMFB this morning, I'm back there looking for a Sherlock Holmes costume. And I noticed that Kyle Brandt has so many personalized jerseys of other teams. Like there was it was an old Oilers jersey, and it was a Earl Campbell, Houston Oilers jersey. And I'm like, oh my God, this is red. And then I looked in the back, it says it's Brandt's last name on it. Like I would never, and I shouldn't say this in front of, I would say this to Kyle though. I'd be like, dude, I would never put my last name on a 34 Bears jersey, which is just me. But in any event, speaking of Roma Dunze and all those guys, so I would never put never put rank on the back of a number 10 or number 15 jersey. But we did have that cool show on Wednesday night. So it was fun to talk to those guys. We did the box break, which was amazing. And I knew this. I knew that once Roma Dunze is sitting there and he's going to pick a card, he's going to pick the Lamar Jackson. There was just no other way this could have gone. And then he does. And then Tyler wants it. And now there's a little thing about you know what? We're going to get them those cards or whatever. But if you go back and watch the show, we have some other cards to give away. So why don't you go back and watch that show? We're going to be picking out one person that we will give away a card this coming up week. One of the people who comments on the YouTube page, pick the card that you would want. Why? I've already spoken for the Cole Kmet. I know that a lot of you might like the Brian Urlacher, so I didn't want to take that from you. So we'll do our best. There was a Saquon Barkley. There was one of the Packers receivers. I think we're saving for Jaquan Brisker. But anything else, the Saquon was pretty nice. Like I sort of regretted not taking Saquon, but the Brian Urlacher one was cool too, which is I'm assuming you're going to want to do. By the way, so we go back to the conversation we were having a moment ago. Bears are in London this week to take on the Jacksonville Jaguars. A lot of fans continue to remain skeptical, which I find amusing. And I'll say this: when the Bears beat the Titans, you said the Bears won in spite of Caleb, which totally fair. Like that makes a lot of sense. It was a defensive performance. We saw after the game, Kevin Byard, I think it was Kevin Byard, who came by and told Caleb, like, listen, we got you. We got you, 18. You're going to win some games for us. Let us get you this week. Okay, so it's fair. That was not a Caleb game by any stretch of the imagination. The Bears were carried by defense that day. Then in week 2, a loss to the Texans, which was kind of ugly and wasn't a good game. And Caleb didn't do enough to win that contest. The defense did enough to win. I really do believe that. They really did enough. Listen, the Bears had a chance to win that game. Remember, Caleb goes out, hits Rome on a big pass play to open that drive, and you're like, oh my God, this is going to happen. I remember standing there thinking, I had risen out of my seat, and I thought to myself, I said, the Bears are going to win this, and it's going to be crazy. And I actually said to my friend who was watching, I said, you know what? I'm going to be a menace if the Bears win this game. Like, people will not want to deal with me if the Bears end up winning this game. And so they did. And then, so they did that. And then Caleb throws for 300 yards against the Colts. But again, it's empty calories because now we lost. Empty calories. Efficient against the Rams, made the plays that he needed to make. Doesn't matter. Whatever. Like, and no, they didn't throw for 300 yards. Then against the Carolina Panthers, Caleb throws for 300, win, but now the opponent wasn't good enough. So I don't know what it's going to take to satisfy everybody, but it's getting old, and you guys need to chill with all that stuff. But I want to start something right now. Joining the show with us right now is one of my good friends. You remember him from the Danger Zone of the NFL Network. Right now, he is the proprietor of not only the Reception Perception, which he does with Matt Harmon. His new website, The Sleeper King, is out of control, hitting so many great sleepers. I mean, maybe not Zamir White, but so many great sleepers. But please, let's welcome to the show, James Coe.
That was a very accurate representation. Maybe not Zamir White is very accurate. I was so high, Bro, I was so high on Zamir White.
Wait, I'll tell you, Peter Schrager has told me again today. He goes, "Don't give up on Zamir White." I'm like, "Okay, I'm in."
No.
It might be a wrap.
It's over.
It might be a wrap.
It's it's over. It's over. It's Jover for Zamir White. I was so high on him, bro, but yeah, it's a little dysfunctional there in Las Vegas, and betting on Las Vegas is probably where my my true fault came in. So yeah, that's where we're at. But yeah, it's been great though. The site's going well, and obviously we've got the podcast going too. So if you guys want to subscribe to the podcast, that would be awesome, man. The Sleeper King football podcast would be great.
Yes. If I haven't subscribed, I will. I'll make sure that I do that right after the show. By the way, I was besmirching you a little bit because I didn't know. I was telling the audience, and this is you did radio, like how you could always tease guests about like, hey, we got a special guest, and people would have to stick around. Like with a podcast, they're like, well, we know that. We see James's photo. We know he's coming on. We did this with Roma Dunze the other day. It's like, I can't special guest. Oh, you'll never believe it. And then Roma, like you see the link, you know it's Roma Dunze. Right. I was joking that I didn't know if you would show up because it's dubious when you send a text like, hey, can you do my show at when we recorded this was originally going to be like 11 Eastern. You're like, wait, what's this for? And I'm like, it's the Sick Podcast. You're like, nah. Maybe I guess. No. Let me try to trap you into a time. I don't think you'll be able to do it, but I was able to do it.
The sequencing of those texts was all off, man. Because at first I said yes, then I said,
what is this for?
What is this for? And then I said,
which is never a good sign.
No. The sequencing was messed up. I probably should have said, what is this for first? And then maybe I don't know. Anyways, whatever. It's all good.
But you're here. It doesn't matter. You're here.
Exactly. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter at all.
It's like when Mike Silver came on, a fellow Cal Bear, a couple of weeks ago, and his PR guy was like, "What's this for? Like it's your own podcast." Like he thought I was getting him onto NFL Network, and I'm like, "Bro, I don't have that kind of juice here. I barely get to be on NFL Network." And then so he told Silver, and Silver, great guy. He's like, of course I'll do that show. I'll do that show anytime. So it was, it's wonderful. And it's wonderful to have you on here. We're going to be doing it. I hope you're ready to pick some games. I should have done it. So Sammy, let's roll the animation for the Sick Picks.
It's time for Sick Picks. Brought to you by Circa Sports Illinois.
And just to let everybody know, the world's largest sports book in Las Vegas is right at your fingertips in Illinois. The Circa Sports app is sports betting the way it should be. Bet anywhere in Illinois and experience high betting limits, better moneyline splits, more in-game betting, and the best customer service. Download your new bookie today. Visit circasports.com and start betting like a pro from anywhere in Illinois. And if you or someone you know might have a problem gambling, call 1-800-GAMBLER or text ILGAMB to 833-234. All right, James, let's talk about the Commanders and Ravens. Jaden Daniels. I don't know where you stood on Jaden Daniels coming into the season. If I remember, you were a bit bullish on him. They got a tough one here at the Baltimore Ravens, where the Ravens are favored by close about 6.5 points. What are we thinking about for this contest?
I think it's going to be a lot of fun. First of all, can either team stop their opposing quarterbacks? We know Washington's defense is not very good at all, and it's really interesting, right? We've got Lamar and a little bit of a prototype of Lamar in Jaden Daniels, right? So both these guys are going to get out the pocket and run quite a bit. It's one of the highest over-unders on the board this week at 51. Look, Mike McDonald goes from Baltimore to Seattle, and Baltimore's defense has absolutely taken a huge step back this year. They're really struggling stopping the pass right now. So I think Washington. Look, I'm no Cliff lover. I'm no Cliff Kingsbury lover at all, but I do think that Jaden Daniels is taking matters into his own hands. I think Terry McLaurin is taking matters into his own hands as well. And those two guys are absolutely lighting the world on fire right now. So Baltimore by 6.5. I just think I think Washington's defense is not good enough, man. And I do think, especially following that big game they had against Cincinnati, I think Baltimore goes and not only wins this game, I think they win pretty handily.
Yeah, I do too. I would see the Baltimore Ravens winning somewhere around the range of like 39-30. If I was predicting scores on this one, like we used to do back in the day, 39-30, the Ravens over the Commanders there. I wish this was the Baltimore Ravens of old, because we need people are out of control with Jaden Daniels. And I understand it's been fun to watch. As you said, you're not a Cliff Kingsbury fan. I'm waiting for the cliff drop, the patented cliff drop. Absolutely. And when it happens, I'm going to be a menace if it happens and it brings down Jaden Daniels with him. Be like, oh, where were you guys a couple of weeks ago as things change so fast in this business? Yeah. Well, who do you like, though? So the Buccaneers are going on the road to face the New Orleans Saints. And this is an interesting one, because obviously Tampa Bay's got so much going on at home. I really wish I would have had one of our researchers looked up, like, hey, what happens when, a team's facing a hurricane or whatever, and they go on the road? Does that affect them? And do they like getting away? But I kind of like the Saints I like the Buccaneers in this one, because through all that, the Saints are starting Spencer Rattler.
Exactly. I don't understand this line at all. How is New Orleans favored in this game? I'm so confused.
I thought the Bucs were down 3.5.
Yeah, the Bucs are the Saints are favored, I believe. I think they're minus 3.5, if I'm not mistaken. I'm pretty sure I saw that correctly. So the bottom line is, for me, give me Tampa Bay all day long. Like, I don't. How does New Orleans go and win in this football game? I get that Tampa Bay is going through a lot of stuff, back home and everything like that, but they still just have a much more talented football team. And at the end of the day, again, when we're talking about quarterbacks, and I know Baker Mayfield's come a long way when we're talking about Baker Mayfield versus Spencer Rattler, but yeah, go ahead and give me Baker Mayfield all day in this offense with Mike Evans and Chris Godwin playing at a super high level. Come on, man. It's Tampa Bay all day long for me.
Yeah, I'm still trying to find out because I have the Bucs it says minus 3.5. I could be wrong. And I'm also, I'm not supposed to have this kind of stuff on my phone anyways. I'm doing this for entertainment purposes only.
Obviously. I'm just picking games. Listen, I was on GMFB. They were sitting there picking games. I can't pick a game.
I do like the Bucs in that one. Spencer Rattler. The one thing I like about Spencer Rattler is that he's given every indication that when he gets the opportunity, he's going to be funneling targets to Chris Olave. So I'm looking for a Chris Olave 22 target game in this one.
That would be great. That would be absolutely fantastic.
And a lot of dump offs to Alvin Kamara. I think that if you're somebody who's been starting Rashid Shaheed over the last couple of weeks, it's like this might be the time to put Rashid Shaheed on the bench. But yeah, I think we're both simpatico with the Bucs winning this one. What about the Browns? Browns at Philadelphia Eagles. This, to me, I was talking about this before you came on, where people are calling the Bears and Jags a trap game, but I'm like, I think people are assuming the Jags are going to play well in London, as they always do. Browns at Eagles seems like a trap game to me. Eagles favored by nearly 10 points.
I know.
But the Browns are so bad. I think it's justified.
Yeah, I mean, the vibes couldn't be worse for the Browns. That being said, Philadelphia has some problems defensively right now, as they are starting to get trying to get used to Fangio's defensive scheme. But the bottom line is they still got some dogs on the defensive side. I love this rookie Quinyon Mitchell they got over there in Philadelphia. And again, I don't know what is going on with the whole Deshaun drama there in Cleveland, but it does not seem as if. Look, it's a little bit of oil and water, don't you think, Rank? It's like,
yeah, totally.
Deshaun is this like shotgun quarterback, and Stefanski runs an under center scheme. Like, who thought this was going to work? I really don't understand, And again, if you're going all in on Deshaun, that's fine. I can kind of sort of get it, but like you can't do that with Stefanski. It just and again, Stefanski, we already know Stefanski's scheme works. We already know that it works. So like I said, I don't understand. It's oil and water when we're talking about head coach, and offensive scheme to quarterback. So that's not changing. So I don't get it. So yeah, give me Philadelphia. I don't know if they cover because again, their defense to me is not that great. And they will let teams stay in it, but Cleveland is so bad. My God. But defensively, I think they're pretty good too. So I think Cleveland ends up probably covering 9.5, but I think Philadelphia wins, again, kind of sort of maybe in like one of those sleepwalk games where they're always up 7 to 9 points the entire game and Cleveland has no chance.
No, I feel the same way. I think it's going to be one of the most boring contests. I'm going to probably have to go back. I mean, I'll go back and watch it at some point, but I'm like, I'm already dreading watching that game. Titans playing host to the Colts this week. The Titans favored in this one, as they should be. Do the Titans need to make a change at quarterback as well? Would they be better off just going with Mason Rudolph?
Shoot, man. I'm really not that sure. Look, Will Levis, Billy Jeans, the Mayo King has been an absolute mess for Tennessee this year, but it's just so hard to get away from some of the raw tools that he has,
Yeah. I'm not giving up on him completely, but I think he needs to sit.
I don't hate it, but at the same time, Indianapolis's defense is so bad that I think this is going to be, it's the opposite of this Philadelphia game. I think this is going to be one of these ugly shootouts that's like randomly awesome. It's like we're not watching good football at all. But it could be a very high scoring, crazy back and forth game with a lot of turnovers on both sides of the football. I think Anthony Richardson's probably going to be starting this game. So yeah, I'm anticipating a lot of turnovers and hopefully we just see like one of these ugly shootouts, occur in Tennessee. That would be a lot of fun. If I had to make a pick though, God, man, this is tough, but I'm probably picking Indianapolis in this one. But again, I think it's going to be a fun game. I hope it's a fun game.
Just to let you know, our producers are Titans fans. But anyways, I like the Titans. I do like the Titans though. I'm good with that one. Texans at Patriots. I always think of the J.J. Watt wearing a Letterman's jacket to New England. Okay, this would be the time you could do that now, JJ. Now you could go to New England in a Letterman's jacket. But I think the Texans should be able to handle this one against the Patriots. Texans come in as a favorite on the road for good reason.
Yeah, I mean, they're a heavy favorite against New England, who's debuting a rookie quarterback. So I will say this about New England, though. This whole talk that New England's offensive line is the worst in the NFL. It's so bad that he's going to get – I don't think he's going to get murdered. I don't think they're that bad, to be honest with you. Look, when I go back and I watch the Patriots, and trust me, it's a tough watch, I like Jacoby Brissett. I like Jacoby Brissett in certain situations. I don't necessarily know I like him in this situation. They don't have any outside X receivers. They don't have anybody who can win downfield. And yet, despite that, Jacoby Brissett's holding on to the ball 2.9 seconds for every throw. That's not good. That's the 8th highest in the NFL. Again, it's not a good offensive line, but look at what they do in the run game. They could block a little bit, right? And in the pass blocking too, I don't think it's that bad. Is basically the point that I'm making. Drake May, he's going to get the ball out quick. We saw that at North Carolina. He's totally fine with checkdowns. He's totally fine with running these little slant slats. And yeah, they've got a bunch of guys that can win underneath. Jalen Polk, Demario Douglas. I think these two guys are legitimate sleepers this week, and I think Drake May will be able to kind of keep that offense rolling just a little bit. I do think that Houston wins handily, but I don't think that New England's going to be just blown out of this game.
No, I agree with that, and I love Jalen Polk. One of the guys that we talked about during the preseason is when I was talking to Roman Dunze at Bears camp. I brought up Jalen Polk, and of course he's always going to stick up for his former teammate. But you're like, you know what? I really like this player's talent. There are some who thought that, they thought it was Jaleel, not McLaughlin.
Jalen McMillan.
Jalen McMillan was the most talented guy of that trio. I'm like, yeah, now get back. Oh, it was Will Gavin who said that. I'm like, dude, get back over your skis. Both these guys, all three of those guys are very talented. Rome's the best.
Yeah,
Cardinals at Packers. I know. Cardinals at Packers. I didn't realize this, but it doesn't shock me. I've picked in the NFL.com picks. I've picked against the Packers every week. Every week. And I'm like, it doesn't surprise me. I'm like, there wasn't one time I gave them the benefit of the doubt. I'm like, oh no, I wouldn't have. So now I'm going to just keep it going. I'm going to pick the Cardinals here.
Yeah, baby, let's go.
I'm going to keep the momentum going.
That's interesting. Okay, yeah. So no, look, the Cardinals going to Green Bay, and the problem is for me that Arizona just can't get any kind of pass rush going.
Yeah.
I think they're bottom 2 in quarterback pressure rate going into this football game. And when you're talking about a guy in Jordan Love who's got a banged up knee, and he loves to stay in the pocket anyways. That's probably not good, right? So you want to be able to force him off of his spot and force him into tougher decisions, because I think we've seen throughout his entire career, when you do heat him up, he's much more likely to just, spray and pray and basically just toss it up there deep downfield and see what happens. Like, that's in his bag. That's in his tendencies. But if Arizona can't get to the quarterback and he gets to just sit there and dissect you, that's pretty tough, man. So I'll go ahead and take Green Bay here. Again, I do think they end up covering 4.5 too.
All right. I'm going to skip this game. I want to go back to that one. We're obviously going to do the Bears last, but I want to skip this game. Steelers at Raiders. Lot of home dogs this week. The Raiders being one of them. What do we make of the Steelers? I said this, and I feel like this is a safe space, and I've been teasing to this for a couple of shows now, because I never really want to drag Justin Fields, but I do want to point out that all the chatter about, hey, we should have kept Justin Fields, immediately died once he was on in a national game, which leads me to believe most Bears fans were not watching the Steelers. They were noticing the Steelers. Oh, the Steelers are undefeated, or they're winning. Justin Fields is putting up good fantasy numbers. Once you actually went and watched it, because I remember when the one that really struck me was when they played Indianapolis, where I was like, nobody's watching these games. No Bears fan is watching this game, because if you watch that game, you're like, this is Justin Fields' greatest hits. Amazing plays, arm, talent, boom, bad decisions, and takes a 7-yard sack when he shouldn't. It's the whole gamut. And I think that on Sunday night, everybody got to see that, and Bears fans are like, yeah. I'm rooting for him, but we probably made the right decision. What do you think? What do you think about the Steelers though right now?
It's kind of, you kind of sort of hit it right on the head. Pittsburgh's a very up and down unit because their quarterback is very up and down. He can make every throw in the book. His spectacular plays look awesome. His spectacular plays, and you could say this about Will Levis too. His spectacular plays look awesome too. The arm talent is just undeniable, but can he actually play the position of quarterback with, and the position of quarterback requires a lot of consistency, not just high level play. I think that's something that we have learned, I think, through, the past, 5 or 6 years, that consistency matters so much more than people want to admit. Like, the highs are the highs, and that's fine. But make sure that your lows are not too low. And unfortunately, I think for Justin Fields, I think you're right. I think he does get he gets a little scrambly out there when the pressure is on, and or he doesn't get guys with a lot of separation. So that being said, Pittsburgh's receiver situation is just, I don't know, man. It's one of the worst in the NFL. And then we find out last Sunday against Dallas, bro, they're playing their best receiver, George Pickens, 59% of the snaps. What is going on? Arthur Smith, what are you doing, my guy? Like, I don't understand it. It's a little crazy. So I don't know, man. It's a little nuts. But to me, at the end of the day, I think Pittsburgh's defense ends up winning this football game for him. I mean, Las Vegas has got Aiden O'Connell out there. And I thought Aiden O'Connell put together some decent games last year and some decent moments and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, I think Pittsburgh Steelers defense should be able to eat him alive.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think that Aiden O'Connell's best moments came in a game where he was just funneling targets to Devontae Adams, and it led everybody to think, like, this guy knows what he's doing. And it's like, it's a wise situation. That's what I'm hoping out of Spencer Rattler this weekend. But the Steelers should win this one, and that crowd is going to be all Steelers. It's one of those things. Totally. I know that SoFi Stadium gets this rap, and then of course SoFi Stadium, Las Vegas, some of these other stadiums, because teams that travel well, blah, blah, blah. It's like, you know what? When your team eventually sucks, you're going to have to deal with this. So it's not like an LA thing. It's not just a Las Vegas thing. The only place it'll never happen is Chicago. Chicago, who is stuck by their team forever, and nobody comes in and dominates the way these other teams do, fan-wise. But that's going to be a Steelers takeover. Panthers, another home dog. God, there's actually the rest of these are all home dogs. Panthers, Falcons. What do we got?
Panthers, Falcons. Again, the Falcons are actually, I know this for sure, they are dead last actually in quarterback pressure rate, and they also allow the highest completion rate to opposing teams as well. So for me, I think that Carolina is going to keep this one close. I think they absolutely cover the 6. Andy Dalton is a statuesque quarterback, and he really likes to pick you apart with short and underneath throws. Again, these are two areas where Atlanta's struggling right now, right?
No, totally.
So for me, their weapons, look, Xavier Legette, shoulder injuries apparently is not a thing, so he's going to be good to go. You've got Legette, you've got Deontay Johnson out here, and I don't know. Look, I know Kirk Cousins looked freaking awesome last week, but he has a tendency to not put together, back-to-back games of that level that often. Yeah. And maybe he does it against Carolina, but at the same time, I do see them maybe coming off of an emotional win, a big-time emotional win, and playing down to the level of competition here. I don't think Carolina's better than Atlanta. I'm not saying that, but I do think the matchup favors a very close game. I will, you know what? Screw it, man. I'm going to take the dog here. Give me Carolina Panthers to win this game.
I'm with you. I'm taking the Panthers to win as well. Selfishly, if the Panthers do win this game, I think, a lot of it will depend on what the Bears do. But it's like, then we can be like, hey, stop with the Carolina nonsense. Like, these are professional teams. They go out there and do it. Speaking of two professional teams, Lions, Cowboys. Woo. I can't believe this is a 1:00 game for us out here on the West Coast.
Right.
And
this will be fun.
I wish this was the Sunday night game, but this is going to be a fun one. Cowboys, home dog again. I actually have the Cowboys winning this one. Where are you leaning?
Oh, that's interesting. I think Detroit wins this one, and I kind of don't know if it's going to be that close. I know the line is only -3 for Detroit right now, but I'm just a little bit concerned about the weapons that Dallas has. I think they're still trying to figure out what they want to do with their wide receivers because they just don't have any. Jalen Tolbert's playing X for them, but what do they do with CeeDee Lamb? I think Lamb has been his best when he gets to play primarily out of the slot, right? But they've been forced to. He's been pressed into action on the outside, and while he's still great, he's still a great football player out there. He's just not as dominant as an outside receiver as he is a slot guy. So I think offensively they're still trying to figure things out. And that's not good against, an Aiden Hutchinson defense that right now is really getting after the quarterback. So any hesitation, I think, is not going to be good for Dak Prescott. Detroit, I think, goes in, and I think they win this football game.
Maybe handily. If it's not the Cowboys winning, I think they get blown out.
Okay.
I see it.
It's funny. I totally see that. Yes, 100%.
You understand
100%.
what I'm like? I don't think the Cowboys win a close game against the Lions. Or actually, I don't. It's one of the two extremes with those guys. Totally. Bengals. The Sunday night game is Bengals at Giants. Giants, another home dog. I don't hate Daniel Dimes in this game, but what do you like for the winner?
No, I don't hate Danny Dimes either. Again, Cincinnati Bengals defense has been struggling as of late. They just, you know what, Rank, at the end of the day, they just don't have the personnel defensively. I know everyone is like bagging on Lou Anarumo, which makes no sense. This is a guy that, was like legitimately a defensive coordinator of the year candidate like 2 years ago. You think his scheme has fallen off that bad? No, he just doesn't have guys. Look at the defensive roster. They don't got dudes. So no, I think that the Bengals defense is struggling a bit. I know they put together a really good offensive effort there against the Ravens last week. That was a really fun game. But the Giants defensively I think they're just too far behind, man. I agree with you. I don't hate Danny Dimes in this one. I think he actually puts together a little bit of a decent game. It's Sunday night. It's prime time. Shoot, man, these games get a little wonky and wacky, but I don't know. I still think the Bengals end up winning this football game.
Yeah, I do too. I don't feel great about it, but I do. And then so the Giants and Jets are playing back to back Sunday, Monday night. How fun is that for the people out there in the Meadowlands? The Jets are Do the Jets respond to the Robert Saleh firing? Is this a thing, or are they so pissed at their quarterback for getting their coach fired? They're like, screw it, like whatever.
I've gone back and forth on this. I actually talked about this on my own podcast too. So often we see these 1-game booster games, you know what I'm saying? From defenses that rally behind a coach that just got fired. I do think that we see that this week, especially on the offensive side of the football. And at the end of the day, too, Rank, it's like the fact that they demoted Nathaniel Hackett is nothing but good things for New York.
Todd Downing wasn't terrible in Tennessee. I'll let Sammy chime into the chat if they like Todd Downing or not. But like, I thought that with Tennessee, they were 17th in total offense, 15 in points scored, which for a normal team, I think would be really good. For Tennessee, oh no, they think he's horrible. our Titans producers, he's horrible. Forget all I said. I don't think it was that bad. I think it's the Titans. What more did you expect from that offense?
Oh, that was great. That was awesome, man. No,
who do you think? Which way are you going in this one?
I think here's the thing. I do think that Tennessee ends up having a little game. The Jets end up having a little 1-game booster behind Todd Downing and the guys and the new interim coach and all that kind of stuff. But that being said, I think this will be a very close game, and I do think that this is going to be a really ugly game too, because you mentioned it. I don't think people are talking about this enough. It's back-to-back games in the Meadowlands. I just wonder, and again, the Meadowlands has been a little bit of a reaper, a grim reaper for players. I know that, I don't know if there's going to be a weather factor or anything like that, but again, I just feel like the field itself, what kind of shape will the field be in? Right.
Yeah.
Like, and I know it's not like a natural grass field or whatever it might, but still though, there's going to be a lot of wear and tear on this field, I do wonder if it's going to be a little bit of a closer game because of conditions. Buffalo has obviously not been playing consistent football by any stretch of the imagination. And again, I do think the Jets come out and have a little bit of a rallying cry around the firing of Robert Saleh. So all of that being said, I think the Buffaloes win a very close game. I'm going to go ahead and say the Buffalo Bills win by 1, a 1-point game against the Jets. But it feels very close. And again, I could be convinced either way. If you told me that Rodgers ends up getting pissed off and just having one of those Rodgers pissed off games against this Buffalo Bills team, then I would buy that too.
Yeah, I'm sort of feeling that. I'm sort of feeling the Rodgers vibe. And I hope Todd Downing goes out there and just focuses in on Breece Hall. One other game from Sunday before we get to the Bears. Chargers at Broncos. I, for the friggin' life of me, can't figure out how the Broncos are a home dog to the Chargers. The Chargers they're straight dukes. It's not a good ball club. They're really not. And I love Jim Harbaugh. Like I do. Yeah. And I think Jim Harbaugh is going to turn that program around. That team sucks.
They're not good right now, and offensively, they're definitely trying to figure themselves out. Dude, the over-under on this game is 35.5. What? That is insane. Oh my goodness. 35.5 is so disgusting, bro. Like, I don't know what to do with that. So, by the way, just the fact that it's a 35.5 point, over-under and the Broncos are, they're a 3-point dog. Those 3 points looks like 7, when you're talking about a 35 over-under, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
so,
right. Yeah.
I think that, again, I'm with you. I think defensively, Denver has just been playing really, really good football. And offensively, they're kind of slowly but surely kind of figuring it out. I mean, everyone wants to keep... We did this last year. Everyone wants to dunk on Sean Payton so bad. Everyone wants to hate on Sean Payton so bad. They want to say, "Oh, it was Drew Brees. It's not Sean Payton. Sean Payton's always been trash." Like, it's crazy how bad people want to dunk on somebody who was good. You know what I'm saying? And I'm just not buying it. Right? He's one of the best offensive coaches we've ever seen in the history of the NFL. And yeah, they're slowly but surely figuring it out offensively. Defensively, they're right there. They look really, really good. And Justin Herbert is banged up. He's banged
Yeah.
up. I know he's coming off of a bye, but he's still banged up. Look, Harbaugh, I love Harbaugh, and I agree with you. I think that the Chargers are definitely going in the right direction. But I'll go ahead and take Denver here at home, man. I think defensively they just lock up the Chargers, and it ends up being a really ugly game. And maybe they win this one like 18-13 or something, and something really disgusting.
Yeah, I can't go against my Broncos. I'm over in Denver now, so I got to keep. But I really do believe in them. It was a couple of weeks ago where I actually picked the Bucks to win, and like their fans are like, "What's going on?" And I'm like, you know what? I go, I have to change the momentum to kind of spice it up, and then I'll be back on after you win this game. And then they've now won 3 consecutive games, but now I can pick them again. So it's a lot of fun. Let's go over to Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, where it was painted red by the Arsenal a couple of weeks ago. The Bears are 1.5 dogs to the Jags. I talked about this before you came on because some people are, one of my friends, Nerdstradamus, is like, I smell trap game. I'm like, I don't think, like, people are not overlooking the Jags in London. Like, they never overlook the Jags in London. But if you could, James, I would like to get you a quick opinion on the way Caleb Williams has been playing over the last couple of weeks, and then a pick from you.
Look, Caleb Williams, and I said this on my SiriusXM show, is that I get that his week 1 was one of the worst quarterbacking performances we've seen in recent history. It was awful. Great. It was terrible. It was bad. Okay, that's fine. But he's a rookie quarterback making his first NFL start. And to be honest with you, I think we've just seen nothing but growth ever since then. Each and every week, Adam Rank, we have seen better and better football. Not just from a statistical standpoint, because he's been up and down statistically, although he does have 2 300-yard passing games in 2 of his last 3 games. I'm just saying, we've seen better and better performances from Caleb Williams, and we've seen a growth curve. Has he come out gangbusters like Jaden Daniels? No. But let me also say this. They had training wheels on Jaden Daniels week number 1. They had training wheels on Jaden Daniels week number 2. The only difference is that Jaden can get out the pocket and scoot a lot better than Caleb can. And Caleb, by the way, is still a pretty mobile quarterback in a very similar way that a lot of other playmaking quarterbacks are, right? Like, no one's going to go out here and say Brock Purdy is a mobile quarterback, but he's mobile enough to get out of the pocket and move in the pocket. And I think that's what Caleb Williams has in spades as well. So look, I really like the development. And I'll say this too, man. I don't know if you watched, I mean, obviously you guys, everyone who's listening to this podcast saw Caleb in the first couple of weeks, but Rank, he just wasn't setting his feet. I mean, it was the most weird thing. It's like basic football, and it's like he was just so in his head about stuff that he forgot the fundamentals. Week 3, he started setting his feet and just started really laying into some of these throws and really exhibiting that arm talent again. And he's just looked so much better. He's looked so much better. I'm really impressed by the growth curve of Caleb Williams over the past 5 weeks.
I'm excited to see what he's going to be able to do against the Jaguars. And again, not taking that team for granted by any stretch of the imagination. I'm just now growing in confidence more and more with Caleb Williams. I was talking about I don't know if I mentioned this point, but I was going through the rundown briefly of the way the games have been going. And I was talking about week 2. Caleb Williams had a chance to win that game. And foolishly, I'm like, oh, they might do it. Big play to Roma Dunze. You're thinking, week 2, that was never going to happen. If that game was happening right now and Caleb Williams was given a chance to win a game at the end, I would feel really confident about it. Like not diluted like I might have been in week 2, but like confident enough to like, he can do this, whether he does it or not. But I think like he can do this. And that's exactly what we've wanted to see. The Bears have allowed him to go out there and grow as a quarterback, make some decisions at the line of scrimmage, do a lot of things that some of these other rookie quarterbacks are not being asked to do, which I think is going to help him further down the road. I think we're getting into a situation where the short burst right now, the short sprint through the first 5 games of the season, Jaden Daniels has an advantage. But I think ultimately we're going to look back and be like, oh yeah, remember when people were giving up on Caleb Williams after 2 weeks? But right. It's foolish now. But listen, so I'm gonna make you pick the Bears because I don't let anybody come onto the show. Maybe if Cynthia's on if we're doing the Lions Bears, I'll let her go that way. I'm gonna put you on the record for the Bears. I do want to, before we let you go,
Wait, hold on. Let me just say, you don't need to put me on. I'm on the Bears here. Jacksonville Jaguars defense stinks. Their passing defense is horrendous. And Caleb, as I've said, I've been impressed with Caleb through the weeks here. And again, I don't know if anyone listens to my Sirius XM show every Sunday night.
You do it with Chris Meany?
No, I do that with a couple different people, but the main host is Fensty. So yeah. Me and Fancy, we got a little chemistry going, which is good.
Wait, I was listening the other week, and I texted you during the game.
Yes,
I was mad at you. You were about to say something.
No, I wasn't.
What was it? I'm like, don't you dare.
I was about. We were going to talk about the Bears. Yeah, we were going to talk about the Bears. And again, whenever they ask me about Caleb Williams, I'm always saying, like, I've been impressed by the growth curve. Week 1, he looked absolutely horrendous. But and again, I'm going to call a spade. But then I'm not trying to dunk on this dude after 3 weeks. It just doesn't make any sense. Look, the bottom line is he's been playing much better football. And again, each and every week he has improved. And I'm not just looking at the statistics. I get that in week 4 against the Rams in a really good spot, he only had 157 yards. Okay, that's fine. But he still played well. I think he still played well there. Right. So for me, the Jacksonville Jaguars secondary is a real problem. Might be the worst in the NFL. Well, the Colts are up there too. But the Jacksonville Jaguars have one of the worst secondaries in the NFL. Again, if Caleb Williams doesn't go out here and have a very good game, I would be really, really surprised, to be honest with you. So no, you don't need to put me on the Bears. I like the Bears. Defensively, They're playing good football. I'd like to see Shane Waldron kind of sort of pick up some more modern concepts. That would be great. It feels a little old schooly in regards to the Bears offense, but I think from a player personnel standpoint, look, I think they've got a guy here in Caleb Williams. Let's just see, man. And especially coming out after the bye, I'll be really curious to see what that game looks like, especially against the Washington Commanders in week 8. Let's go. Yeah. Let's go. That's going to be a spotlight game, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
I'm looking forward to it. And and the Bears have a couple of injuries that they're dealing with right now. Tyreek Stevenson, by the time you watch it, you'll know whether he's ruled out or not. Jaquan Brisker didn't even make the trip. But the Bears do have some depth in the secondary. And I think Jalen Jones can come in and still be very effective. And then Jalen Johnson, hopefully will be the guy who's taken away Brian Thomas Jr. But I expect a good game, and I expect the Bears to win this one. And again, with Caleb, if he has an efficient game like he did against the Rams, and let's say DeAndre Swift goes out there and feasts, and Roschon Johnson goes out there and feasts, that's fine with me. I can live with that. I know the people who only watch the fantasy numbers will go out and be like, this guy sucks or whatever. But ultimately, I think as long as the Bears, if the Bears win handily again, and I'm pointing this out to everybody who's sitting there saying, like, this is a potential trap. Okay, fine. Feel that way. That's fair. If the Bears win this, you cannot be like, well, beat a good team. Beat somebody other than Carolina. Like, no. You all swore up and down that this was a trap game. So here it is. If they win, your excuses are nil. You're nullified. And this would be the first time that Matt Eberflus ever won 3 consecutive games. I think this is big for Matt Eberflus. I think this is a big, must win for Eberflus. Like, he's won back-to-back games. You really got to go out there and start to put together 3 in a row. You won 6 out of 7. Like, you've done it. Like, this, the next natural progression. Because even sitting here, I was in the NFL Network newsroom the other day, and I could hear people, even Bears fans, talking about it. Like, I don't think Eberflus is a good coach, and it's like, this is where he puts that away. If he comes out, gets his team prepared overseas in London against a team that's seasoned in playing overseas games, I think that'll be huge for him. But listen, I want to go through everything that you got going on. We got the sleep. You're still involved with the reception perception.
Oh yeah,
that's going great.
Absolutely. Oh yeah, absolutely.
I still have. We got that going. I got auto sub the reception perception. Mind you, no, it's okay. I don't mind.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
I'm happy to pay for it. I would rather pay for it. And if anybody out there is looking for one of these sub sites, I would say though the Sleeper King is the way to go. What else do we have going on? You have the Sirius show on Sundays, Sleeper King. You got reception perception. Oh wait, you're also broadcasting college games, yeah?
Oh, I'm doing a college football postgame show locally here in Los Angeles. So if anyone is a Bears fan listening to this podcast in the Los Angeles area, you can go find me on NBC4 postgame after the Big Ten games every Saturday night. But man, Rank, the big thing for me is I'm just trying to, again, push the website, push the podcast. And if you guys would follow me, the podcast is great because honestly, it's only 15 to 20 minutes each and every episode. I post about 4 times a week. And then on top of that, even if 15 minutes is too long for you, we split that up. We put that into little 8-minute, 10-minute chunks as well. So for me, it's just, I know that there's a lot of folks out there like yourself, like myself, Rank, that, okay, we love fantasy football, but dude, bro, you think I've got time for an hour-long fantasy football podcast? You're tripping. So I made this podcast for people like
I'm saying that to the people who've locked in for 50 minutes right now.
Well, this isn't even fantasy, though. This is just about Bears football, This is different. Like, again, if you're if you're a fan of a team, you'll absolutely consume this for an hour. Yeah, 100%. But fantasy football, it's hard, man. It is hard, honestly. And we've been in this space for a long time. It's really difficult. I think for a lot of people to kind of lock in for an hour on a fantasy football podcast. And I'm saying this as a former host of a fantasy football podcast that was extraordinarily popular. I get it. I understand.
Used to be,
but yeah, no. So, but again, I did feel like there was a space in the marketplace, I think, for a podcast like mine, the Sleeper King Football Podcast. It's short form, for people on the go. If you want to listen to this on your daily walk, that'd be great. But again, I just feel like it fits that little niche quite well. The Sleeper King Football Podcast is something that I'm pushing for sure.
Okay. Well, listen, I'll make sure that I have all the subscriptions updated and all that stuff. So come find me in the comment section. Really appreciate all the work you do. I haven't listened. I haven't watched the YouTube page, but I do like listening to the podcast itself.
Thank you.
Because like you said, it's great for the commute. I didn't listen to it on Friday morning because I was listening to the movie Sherlock Holmes, because I was trying to get the accent right. And then I blow it going on GMFB, which is awesome. But in any event, want to thank you for joining us here today. A lot of fun doing games with you. We'll have you back real soon. And I want to thank everybody else for coming out here and checking out the show. The weekend show's been killing it. And I appreciate everybody's taking the time to sit here and listen and getting you ready for the Bears game. So it's an early one. By the way, if you're in Southern California, we're really trying to get Rip Beer Company to open at 6:30 a.m. So I'm going to put up a post on my Instagram page today. Let everybody know that you will be there. We just need like 5 people to show up, and they will do it for us. I think it would be a lot of fun. Crepuscular drinking, all that stuff. But thank you so much for being here. Good luck to the Chicago Bears this weekend. Thanks to James Coe. And I'm Adam Rank, and Sammy, go ahead and play us out. Bear down.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast with Adam Rank on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts. Brought to you by Circa Sports Illinois.